What was your I gotta break up with this person immediately moment? Serious. She stopped getting her periods because of a medical issue and pretended she possibly was pregnant to see if I would take my responsibility. This was something she already had seen a doctor for before informing me, so she was already 100% aware that she wasn't pregnant, but she pretended for weeks that she might have been and forced me to come up with a realistic plan to see if I was a suitable person to have kids with before she told me the truth. I got word that she likes to use pens for pleasure in school, and that was a bit far for my middle school self to handle. Well, if she used pens, penises would be a huge upgrade. I got word this sounds like a blatant rumor started specifically to damage the girl's reputation. I assume you didn't even ask her if there was any truth to it? It was middle school, we've all been there, and we are definitely not our best selves at 12 years old. I didn't ask her because yay, middle school self wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed. I hadn't visited my family in a few years and they booked a flight during Valentine's Day week. My ex-boyfriend became enraged because he planned a trip to New York City together. We'd been together for almost 2 years, and not once did he plan anything so much of a dinner. He gave me so much slack about not being a good girlfriend. To this day I still don't believe had any plans, but just wanted me to stay in Chicago because he was extremely possessive. Yeah, good call getting out of there. I'm a physicist, and I work in a laboratory with a few colleges of mine. My GF was 24/7 jealous on that college, so she would constantly call me on my job to check what I was doing, and she even went so far as stalked my coworker. Basically, when I found out about that, I broke up with her. Colleagues you mean, not colleges. Unless you are the actual owner of a few colleges? Lol. Dated this girl for a few months during college. We'd see each other several times during the week, and then usually do a date or two on the weekends. We'd hang out with her friends sometimes. Whenever we were alone in a private place, she'd be all over me. One day we met for lunch. After, we're walking through campus and talking and having a fine time. I went to hold her hand as we walked. She stopped and said, "Don't do that. I don't want people to think I'm attached to you." I noped out shortly thereafter. A girl I knew from high school, both from 87, started talking to me, told me she was divorced twice already, but had one daughter of the first relationship. She said the men were to blame, and after talking a little bit, she asked if I'd feel like hanging out and watch a movie. She likes horror movies a lot as well. I said it was okay, and the day before we'd meet up, she sent me a picture of 2 types of clothing with the question, which one should I wear to your family dinner on Sunday? She expected that we were in a relationship because I was going to see a movie at her place and thought it was normal that I introduced her to my family the day after. She would tell me that she's on the way over to my place, and then I wouldn't hear from her until the next day. She lived about 3 miles away inside a military base. Since I didn't have access to the base as a civilian, I would alternate between sitting in front of my house for hours or driving up and down the streets. The first time it happened, I thought I should break up with her immediately, but I gave her another chance. This happened 3 or 4 more times in a span of a few weeks. I don't want to think about what she was doing instead. This was a few years ago, and honestly my soul hasn't fully recovered. I can't wait to get you pregnant. I'll flush all your pills down the toilet and get you pregnant. My ex-husband. I'm CF and he knew it. He just didn't take it seriously when I insisted that I was serious about not having kids. Yeah, no, bye. When he showed up to our 3rd date with an oil painting of me, it was very sweet, but I got so overwhelmed by it. I was 15, and he was the first person I've ever dated that I had a full-on panic attack and told him that this is too much for me. We still speak sometimes. He is a really nice guy. He told me he didn't want me to go out without him, and that he had always worried I was going to cheat on him. This was 6 months in, after I'd been to a festival with a friend that had been looking forward to for so long. I came back, and he was just weird and paranoid and clingy. No thanks. I stayed with her the entire time after she checked herself into a rehab clinic. But as soon as she got out, she invited other patients she met there over to hang out. You're specifically told not to do that because they could lead you back to your addiction or introduce you to new addictions. That's when I broke up with her. He was dating other people since we were in an open relationship, but he would get angry if I even talked to anyone else. When I said that I was uncomfortable with him dating others and that I wanted to try being exclusive, he lashed out and accused me of repressing a vital part of himself and that I was selfish. Big oof, honestly. When my ex said that he would happily abuse me to get his own way, that he'd try and force me into situations that he knew would cause me to have panic attacks. Going to move my ex's car off the street and saw he had a large ding on his bumper. Opened the door to find he puked out the side of the window onto the door. All this after I found stashed alcohol bottles. I didn't want to cheat on him, so I broke up with him when the desire for someone new got too strong. Ended up with me cheating on the new guy with that ex instead. Ah well, you live and you learn. Out of curiosity, how old were you when you did this? In high school, my 15 very first boyfriend, 17 of all of 3 weeks, began talking about how things would be after he graduated when we were married. He was going to join the Marines so that our kids and I would be taken care of if anything happened to him. I used to do criminal profiling for a living. It's not your Kartung or your Haruto, it's me. Licked her fingers to turn pages in one of my books. Nor, RUN. Goodbye. He said it's me, or the dogs lol. My ex was like, can't we put the dog outside? And I'm like, you go outside. The relationship was already in its terminal stages, but once my ex-fiance tried to punch me in the face, I left that day. Went to a concert with some friends, and when it was over, the number of missed calls and text messages were both in the triple digits. We had only been dating for a few weeks.